The orbiting station of SCIFI-Prime gleamed against the endless black of space, a jewel of human engineering surrounded by distant stars. Inside its massive docking bays and training arenas, cadets and veterans alike bustled through the rhythms of a life devoted to the skies. Among them, Ilara Voss moved with quiet determination, her steps precise but measured, her gaze fixed firmly ahead. She was young, barely 22, but she carried herself with a discipline beyond her years. Yet despite her composure, she could feel the eyes of the Academy upon her, sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with doubt. Her helmet, battered and scratched, rested snugly against her chest as she walked toward the simulation bay. It was covered in dents, scuffs, and marks, each a reminder of countless drills, skirmishes, and private missions that she had undertaken under her family's guidance before arriving at the Academy. Most of her peers barely noticed the story behind the dents. Instead, they whispered, often cruelly, about how it made her look careless, unprepared, or even unlucky. Ilara Voss, a voice called from the side. She looked up to see Lieutenant Merrick, one of the senior cadets, and notorious for his sharp tongue. Still dragging that antique around? Don't tell me that helmet survived another crash. Or did it just grow those dents from crying in the simulator? Ilara smiled faintly, ignoring the jab. She had learned early that mockery could be both poisonous and revealing. It often showed the insecurities of those speaking rather than the truth about the target. She adjusted the straps of her helmet and stepped onto the simulator platform, letting the virtual cockpit surround her. Screens lit up, and a holographic landscape of an asteroid field filled the room. Today's exercise, the instructor's voice boomed, will test your navigation under extreme stress. Avoid collisions, neutralize threats, and maintain formation. Only the top 3 performers will move on to the sector assignment trials. Lara's heart beat steadily. She had trained for this her entire life. She may have been young, but her instincts were honed by hours of solitary practice. Lessons from her mentor, her father, a retired fleet captain, and the wisdom carried in her helmet. She closed her eyes for a moment and remembered the last words her father had said to her before leaving the station for a distant mission. The cracks in your armor will be your strength. Ilara, never hide them, never fear them. They are your story. The simulation began with a rush of light and sound. Asteroids zipped past, holographic enemy drones materialized, and the weight of decision-making pressed on her like a physical force. Many cadets froze, waiting for the right moment. Ilara moved. She dodged with precision, anticipating drone trajectories and weaving through the dense field of floating rock. Her helmet's worn interior absorbed every vibration of the controls, every flicker of warning lights. What others considered imperfections gave her an unusual edge. She could sense danger almost instinctively, almost as if the helmet itself remembered every skirmish she had ever faced. A loud crash echoed from one of the nearby simulators. Lieutenant Merrick had overextended, clipped a virtual asteroid, and his craft exploded into a cascade of red warning lights. Some cadets chuckled, but Ilara ignored it. She was focused, fully aware that each movement, each split-second decision, was counted for everything. By the end of the exercise, she had navigated through more obstacles than any cadet in her group. When the results appeared, her name was at the top. Some looked shocked, others irritated. Merrick's face flushed red with disbelief. That's impossible, he muttered under his breath. She just got lucky. Ilara walked past him without replying, letting her actions speak louder than any words could. Luck had little to do with it. Instinct, training, and determination had guided her hands and eyes. That night, as the station lights dimmed and the bulk of cadets retreated to their quarters, Ilara stayed in the simulator bay. She hovered over her ship's schematics, tracing possible improvements and refining her maneuvers. She traced her fingers over the edges of her helmet, feeling every dent, every mark. To others, they were blemishes, flaws to be mocked. To her, they were a record of victory's small battles. Lessons learned and the legacy of her family, a message pinged on the station's communication board. It bore the official seal of the High Command. Ilara opened it carefully, heart racing. Cadet Ilara Voss, you have been selected for the Sector Reclamation Mission. You will join an elite team tasked with reclaiming territory formerly held by the Shadari war clans. Departure, 48 hours. Report to Hangar 12 for briefing. The Shadari war clans. The very name carried weight, fear, and reverence. They were a coalition of warriors thought extinct for decades, destroyed in a series of legendary battles. Most stories about them were taught in history classes or whispered among pilots in awe. Few had ever faced them directly, and fewer survived. Alara felt a strange mix of pride and apprehension. This was her chance to prove herself, not just to the Academy, but to the world. Yet she also felt the weight of her heritage, the helmet she wore, the dents she bore, the memory of ancestors who had faced similar odds. Each mark seemed to whisper encouragement, urging her forward. The next morning, Hangar 12 buzzed with activity. The elite team assembled, a mixture of seasoned pilots, engineers, and strategists, all handpicked for this mission. Many looked at Alara skeptically, seeing a young rookie standing among legends. Whispers spread quickly. She's just a kid. Look at that helmet. You think she even knows how to fly in combat? Alara ignored them. She kept her eyes forward, her hands steady on the control panel of her ship. A sleek fighter crafted for speed and maneuverability. She remembered her father's words again. The cracks, the dents, they were her story, and she was ready to write the next chapter. During the briefing, the team learned about the territory they were assigned to reclaim. Vast fields of abandoned starships floated in orbit around ruined planets. Automated defenses remained active, remnants of a civilization that had once sought domination. The Shadari, though believed dead, had left traps and warnings behind. Intelligence was scarce, and the risks were high. Some team members exchanged uneasy glances. Others whispered doubts. But Alara felt a calm clarity. She studied the maps, noted the positions of potential hazards, and began forming strategies in her mind. Her helmet, battered and scarred as it was, seemed almost alive in these moments, a guide, a reminder of battles past. Later, as the team prepared for departure, Lieutenant Merrick approached her again. This time, quieter, almost hesitant. You really are joining the mission," he said, studying her helmet. "I thought they'd pick someone more experienced." Lara tilted her head slightly, a small, confident smile forming. "Experience isn't just about time, Lieutenant. It's about what you've survived, what you've learned, and how you respond when it counts." Merrick frowned, unsure what to say, and finally walked away. Others watched, some skeptical, some quietly intrigued. Something about her presence had changed the room. As her fighter detached from the hangar and launched into the void, Lara gazed at the stars stretching endlessly ahead. The helmet, with its worn metal and countless dents, felt lighter than ever. It was not a burden, it was a key. Each mark carried wisdom, courage, and the memory of warriors who had fought before her. For the first time, she felt that she was not just a rookie among legends. She was part of a lineage of survivors, strategists, and fighters. And soon, the universe would see that every dent in her helmet told a story no mockery could erase. The stars ahead shimmered like distant fires, and somewhere beyond them, the ghost of the Shadari awaited. But Alara was ready. She had survived simulations, ridicule, and doubt. And now, she would face her first real battle, not just to prove herself, but to honor the legacy she carried in every crack of her helmet. And so, the journey began. The deep black of space stretched endlessly before Alara Voss as her fighter glided alongside the rest of the elite team. Stars flickered like distant embers, and the cold silence of the void wrapped around them like a cloak. They were leaving the familiar glow of CosmicAdventures behind and heading toward a sector long abandoned. A place where legends and nightmares had once collided, the graveyard of stars. Where the Shadari war clans had waged their fiercest battles, Alara's heart beat steadily, a rhythm of calm determination. She studied the readings on her cockpit display. Derelict ships, shattered stations, and floating debris scattered across vast orbital fields. Each wreck told a story, some of courage, some of destruction, and some of lives abruptly ended. Her helmet, still marked with dents and scratches, felt heavier than usual, a constant reminder of her own heritage, of the bloodlines who had faced such chaos before her. "Stay close," commanded Commander Rin, a veteran pilot whose calm authority commanded respect. "Sensors are detecting residual energy fields from old Shadari defenses. We don't know how active they are. One misstep could trigger automated systems. Treat every derelict like a live battlefield." Alara adjusted her controls and nodded, her eyes scanning the void. Others in the team grumbled under their breath, cautious and tense. Many were experienced, but none had flown this region in decades. Most had studied simulations or read reports. Alara had trained her instincts, felt the pulse of the ship and the helmet as if they were extensions of herself. The first obstacle appeared sooner than expected. A massive battlecruiser floated at an odd angle, its hull torn and twisted, yet still operational in some sections. Its weapons arrays were frozen in time, but energy signatures suggested they could reactivate. Approaching Hazard 1, called out Lieutenant Merrick, still unable to hide a mix of awe and unease. Distance, 50 kilometers. Shields at minimal. Should we engage or bypass? Alara studied the readings, her fingers moving deftly over the control panel. Bypass, but keep scanning. Its systems may still respond to motion and heat signatures. We'll move low under the debris field and maintain formation. Trust your instincts, but follow my lead on maneuvering. Merrick hesitated, then nodded. Alara's quiet confidence had a way of commanding attention without demanding it. The fleet moved carefully, weaving through floating wrecks. Shards of metal drifted slowly in zero gravity, casting sharp shadows in the glow of distant stars. At one point, a floating cargo pod tipped dangerously toward Merrick's ship. In a split second, Alara signaled him, and he adjusted his thrusters just in time. Others began to watch her, noticing the precision. The way her instincts seemed sharper than theirs. Hours passed, but the real danger was only beginning. As they approached the central region of the graveyard, sensors detected faint, irregular energy pulses. Automated defense drones, remnants of the Shadari war clans, still patrolled the sector. They were small, but deadly, armed with plasma disruptors and AI programmed to react instantly to intruders. "Commander," Rin's voice cut through the comms. "Drones detected. Formation Delta. Engage with caution. Only neutralize if necessary. We cannot risk damage to our ships before recon." Lara felt a surge of anticipation. This was the first real test, far beyond simulations or academy drills. She studied the drones on her display, predicting their flight paths with the knowledge embedded in her. Helmets dense, the subtle. Scars seemed almost to remind her of maneuvers, learned from ancestors, who had faced similar threats, engaging. "The first wave," she said quietly. With careful timing, she maneuvered her fighter through a narrow gap between two massive debris fields. Plasma fire erupted, and the drones reacted, their AI recognizing targets. Alara's movements were precise: dive, roll, twist, fire, evade every motion fluid and instinctive. The drones that had seemed inevitable threats were neutralized one by one, their energy cores deactivated by pinpoint strikes. The team followed her lead, though some hesitated at first. Slowly, they began to trust her instincts, adjusting their maneuvers based on her commands. Even Merrick, the once skeptical lieutenant, moved with surprising precision under her guidance. Once the drones were cleared, the team gathered near a massive Shadari battleship, half buried in the debris field. Its hull was scorched and twisted, yet energy readings suggested it was far from dead. "Scanners picking up internal power signatures," said Engineer Leora, the team's tech specialist. "Could be AI cores. Or traps. We should proceed carefully." Lara's eyes narrowed. "We don't have the luxury of hesitation. We move in, map the interior, and mark any active systems. Our job is to reclaim this sector, not destroy it blindly." As they approached, the battleship's surface shifted. Automated turrets, long thought and active, powered up with sudden energy bursts. Beams of light cut across the void. Alara's instincts kicked in. She dove low, twisted her ship around a floating hull panel, and signaled the team. Her helmet's worn interior seemed to vibrate with recognitions. The dents, each a memory of previous battles, guided her. The engagement was brief but intense. Drones were neutralized, and the turrets disabled. The team moved inside the battleship, navigating narrow corridors filled with debris, sparks, and the eerie silence of long-dead warriors. Ilara led the way, her helmet scanning and analyzing every surface. Every panel, every possible threat. Inside, the remnants of the Shadari war clan's culture were evident. Banners, symbols etched into walls, and holographic records of battles long past. The air smelled of scorched metal and ozone. Cadets whispered nervously, but Ilara's presence reassured them. "Stay focused," she instructed. "This is their territory. Every corner could hold danger, but also opportunity. Remember, we're not just reclaiming space, we're learning from it." Hours turned into days as they mapped and secured multiple vessels and stations. Ilara noticed patterns in the Shadari engineering, ways in which their defenses were connected and predictable. Her helmet's dents, scars from earlier life-and-death drills, allowed her to anticipate trap activations before the sensors even detected them. During a quiet moment, she hovered over a massive crater, looking out at the twisted remains of an old fleet. The silence pressed around her like water, heavy and still. She thought of the warriors whose names were lost to time, to battles fought and forgotten, and the courage required to survive. A subtle pride filled her chest. The helmet, once mocked by peers, was not a sign of weakness. It was a testament, a record of endurance, survival, and intelligence. Her communicator crackled. "Ilara, you need to see this," Leora's voice said, tense. "There's a signal coming from a derelict station nearby. Unusual. It doesn't match any known patterns. Could be a trap or something else." Ilara adjusted her controls. "Plot a course. Stay sharp. If it's a trap, we'll know before it reaches us. If it's not, we may learn more about the Shadari than anyone has in decades." As they approached the station, faint lights flickered across its surface. Shapes moved, shadows against a background of metal and darkness. Ilara's instincts flared. This was no ordinary wreck. Some intelligence lingered here, artificial, mechanical, yet eerily purposeful. "Prepare for engagement," she said quietly, her hands steady. "And remember, every dent in this helmet has a story. So do we. Let's make sure we survive long enough to add another chapter." The graveyard of stars was only beginning to reveal its secrets, and Ilara Voss was ready. Every mark on her helmet, every lesson she had learned, every instinct honed through relentless training, would guide her. The shadows of the past were alive, and the future waited for no one but she would face it head-on. The derelict station loomed ahead like a silent predator, its metal exterior scarred and blackened by battles long past. Ilara Voss piloted her fighter through the narrow approach, her eyes scanning every detail, every flicker of energy on the sensors. The other team members followed cautiously, hesitant but trusting her guidance. Every dent and crack in Ilara's helmet seemed to hum with recognition, as if echoing the movements of warriors who had come before her. "Energy readings are off the charts," Engineer Leora said, her voice tense. "This station shouldn't be producing anything. It's been dead for decades." Ilara tilted her head, analyzing the holographic display. "Dead doesn't mean harmless," she replied. "There's still intelligence here, systems waiting for movement. We proceed carefully. One false step, and we could trigger everything." The station's outer airlocks groaned as they entered, the metal shuddering under the weight of centuries. Inside, corridors stretched in every direction, dark and silent except for the faint hum of power flowing through hidden conduits. Shadows played tricks on the eyes. Even the most seasoned pilots whispered nervously. Ilara led the way, every step measured, every decision deliberate. She noticed patterns in the Shadari architecture, the placement of lights, the angles of walls, and the subtle markers that hinted at hidden mechanisms. Her helmet, worn and scarred, seemed almost to guide her. She remembered how her father had said the helmet carried wisdom, a legacy of survival, coded in each dent, each mark. "Watch the floors and ceilings," Ilara warned. "Traps can be triggered by weight, motion, or heat. Assume everything is active until proven otherwise." They advanced through the first corridor when a sudden flash of light erupted ahead. Automated Shadari drones, long thought and active, powered up instantly, their sensors locking on the intruders. They were small, but lethal. Armed with plasma disruptors and guided by AI designed to anticipate human movement, Elara's instincts kicked in. She rolled her fighter through a narrow hatch, dodging blasts that would have destroyed an ordinary ship. "Take cover behind the hull fragments," she shouted. The team scattered, weaving through debris, evading fire. Elara's helmet guided her movements almost instinctively. Each dent and crack seemed to remind her of a maneuver learned from history, from her family, from battles she had never fought but had survived in simulation countless times. With precise timing, she fired her pulse cannon, disabling the first drone. A second came at her from the side, and she twisted sharply, letting it overshoot before taking it down with a single shot. The team followed her lead, coordinating attacks, disabling drones, slowly clearing the corridor. After the skirmish, they regrouped in a larger chamber. The walls were covered with Shadari symbols, some glowing faintly, still active with old energy signatures. Holographic records flickered on the walls, images of battles, ships exploding, and warriors in ceremonial armor. Ella approached one of the holograms and traced her fingers over the symbols. Suddenly, a realization struck her. The patterns on her helmet matched some of these symbols. Each dent, each mark corresponded to a clan, a battle, a victory of her ancestors over the Shadari. She felt a shiver run down her spine. This isn't just a station," she whispered. "It's a record, a memorial. Every dent in my helmet, every victory my family fought. It's all connected." Commander Rin approached, reading her expression. "What is it?" he asked. Elara turned, her eyes intense. "The helmet. It's a map. A guide. Every mark. It's a story of a clan defeated, a battle won. I can read their strategies because I've inherited their instincts. This station is like a library, a battlefield frozen in time." The team was silent, absorbing the revelation. Some glanced at her helmet with new respect, realizing that what they had once mocked was in fact a repository of history, of courage, of survival. Their exploration continued. Deeper into the station, every corridor, every room seemed alive with the echoes of the past. Automated defenses triggered at irregular intervals. But Elara predicted each one, her helmet guiding her through traps and hazards. She began to feel a strange connection to the Shadari, not fear, but understanding. They were warriors like her ancestors, bound by honor, strategy, and skill. Suddenly, a deeper alarm rang out. The station's central power core was coming online, responding to their intrusion. The lights flared, casting long shadows. Large humanoid drones activated, armed with energy blades and heavy plasma shields. This was no ordinary defense, it was a concentrated force, designed to eliminate intruders swiftly. Elara's heart pounded, but she remained calm. "Formation Alpha," she commanded. "We engage strategically. Focus on disabling their mobility first. Use the environment." The team moved as one, following her guidance. She dove behind a massive support beam, twisting and rolling to evade a plasma strike. Her pulse cannon fired, disabling one of the humanoid drones. Another swung an energy blade, narrowly missing her fighter. She ducked, spun, and fired again, each shot calculated, each movement precise. Merrick, once mocking, now followed her movements closely, learning from her instincts. I didn't realize," he muttered. "You actually see them before they move. It's like, you know what they're thinking?" Elara allowed herself a small smile, though she remained focused. "It's not magic. It's observation, pattern recognition, and legacy. This helmet carries the lessons of warriors long gone. I just listen." After an intense skirmish, the humanoid drones were neutralized, leaving only flickering lights and faint humming. The team gathered near the station's command center. Inside, they found a massive holographic map of the surrounding sector, detailing the positions of hidden Shadari fleets, derelict stations, and trap zones. Ilara studied it carefully. This is more than we expected. The Shadari weren't destroyed. They left behind resources, defenses, and intelligence. If we use this wisely, we can reclaim the entire sector without unnecessary loss. Leora frowned. But someone has to operate the core systems. It's dangerous and known protocols, automated defenses, and whatever else is still active. Lara glanced at the core, then back at her team. I'll do it, she said. The helmet. It can guide me through. I know how to read their systems. Trust me. Commander Rin hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right, Voss. You lead. We follow. Ilara approached the core chamber cautiously. The walls were lined with intricate circuitry, pulsing faintly. The energy patterns resonated with the knowledge encoded in her helmet. Each dent and scratch seemed to illuminate in her mind, showing her paths, sequences, and safe zones. She moved with confidence, manipulating controls, redirecting power flows, and neutralizing remaining hazards. Hours passed, but eventually she succeeded. The station's systems were stabilized, automated defenses deactivated, and a full record of Shadari strategies, fleet positions, and tactical insights was secured. The team stared in awe, realizing that without her unique insight and connection, they would have been overwhelmed. Merrick finally spoke, his voice quiet and full of respect. I don't know how to say this, but the helmet, the dents, they saved us. I never thought to see it like this. You're not just lucky, Voss. You're extraordinary. La removed her helmet for a moment, her hair damp with sweat, eyes bright. It's not luck, she said softly. It's inheritance. Every scar, every mark, every story from the past, this is what guides us. And it's just the beginning. Outside, the graveyard of stars stretched endlessly, filled with derelict ships, hidden fleets, and silent dangers. But inside, the team now understood that they were not alone, not unprepared. With Ilara's guidance, her unique instincts, and the lessons carried in her helmet, they could face whatever the Shadari had left behind as the team prepared to move to the next station. Ilara allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. The helmet once mocked was now a symbol of strength, resilience, and knowledge. Each dent told a story of battles won and challenges survived. She felt connected to the past in a way she had never imagined, and she knew that this connection would shape every move in the battles ahead. And somewhere deep within the graveyard of stars, the Shadari had left remnants of their fleet, waiting, watching, and ready. But Ilara Voss, guided by legacy and courage, was prepared to face them. The ghosts of the past had revealed themselves, but they had also given her power. And the next step of the mission would show just how far that power could reach. The void stretched endlessly ahead, vast and cold, yet alive with silent menace. Ilara Voss led her team through the graveyard of stars, her sensors alive with readings of energy signatures, unlike anything they had seen. The derelict ships they had passed were only fragments, reminders of battles fought long ago. But now, something new had emerged, a presence far more organized, far more dangerous. Commander, I'm picking up multiple high-energy signatures, Engineer, Leora reported. Her voice was tight with tension. They're cloaked, but active. There's more than one vessel. This isn't just a remnant fleet. It's a hidden armada. Ilara's eyes narrowed, the light of the stars reflecting off the scratches and dents in her helmet. She felt the familiar hum of her instincts, guided by the battles embedded in every mark on her headgear. Each dent carried the memory of victories against enemies who had once seemed unbeatable. She allowed herself a moment of clarity. We've found them, she said quietly. The Shadari. They never fully died. They hid. And now we are inside their trap. Commander Rin's voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed unease. Do you have a plan, Voss? Ilara nodded. We engage carefully. We do not attack blindly. Their fleet is strong, but it has patterns. Every move they make is predictable, if we understand their strategy. Follow my lead. The first ships of the hidden armada emerged from their cloak. Massive and angular, their hulls glinted with a menacing sheen, and automated turrets swiveled toward the intruders. Unlike the scattered derelict ships they had navigated before, this fleet moved with purpose. Its formations were precise, synchronized, and deadly. Elira's hands moved with a calm certainty. She guided her fighter low, twisting around debris. Using the shadows of wrecked vessels to approach the edge of the fleet undetected, her team followed in close formation, trusting her instincts over their fear. "Drones are picking us up," Merrick shouted, his voice a mix of panic and awe. "They're scanning, ready to fire." Ilara remained focused. "Predictable," she muttered. "Watch their formation. Every ship mirrors the other. They react to motion patterns. We don't follow the obvious path. We force them to react, then strike where they are weakest." The first wave of Shadari drones fired, plasma beams cutting through the void, striking wreckage, and narrowly missing the team's fighters. Ilara dove low behind a floating battleship, then twisted upward, allowing the drones to overshoot. In a swift, precise motion, she fired a pulse cannon. Disabling the lead drone and creating a path for her team, Merrick followed her maneuver, barely keeping pace, while other pilots adjusted their strategy. "I can't believe this," he muttered. She's reading them before they even move." Ilara didn't respond. She was focused entirely on the armada ahead. Every dent in her helmet seemed to glow with memory, every crack a reminder of a battle her ancestors had fought. Each instinct, each split-second decision felt as though it had been rehearsed by generations of warriors before her. Hours passed as they engaged with small groups of automated ships. Ilara's strategy was simple but brilliant. Force the enemy into overextension, disable key drones, and neutralize systems without exposing her team to full frontal attack. Every move was calculated, every decision precise. The team began to understand her rhythm, following her lead, trusting her instincts as much as their own skill. But the real challenge lay deeper within the fleet. Sensors indicated a massive vessel at the heart of the Armada command ship, bristling with energy shields and automated defenses. It was heavily armed, its weapons capable of annihilating multiple fighters in seconds. "This is it," Ilara said, her voice calm. "The heart of the Armada. Disable it, and the fleet collapses. But we must be clever. One wrong move, and we all burn." Commander Rin nodded. "Lead the way, Voss. We trust you." Lara studied the fleet carefully, memorizing the positions of turrets, patrol drones, and energy barriers. "We split into two groups," she instructed. "One distracts the outer drones. The other infiltrates the command ship. Timing is critical. Follow the sequence exactly." Her team moved with precision, executing her plan flawlessly. As the distraction team engaged the outer drones, Lara led the infiltration team through a narrow, nearly invisible passage in the shadows of the massive ships. She guided them past automated turrets and energy fields. Her instincts sharp and her knowledge of Shadari tactics unmatched. At the command ship's core, they faced the final obstacle, a massive plasma shield. Its energy pulsing and shifting unpredictably. "It's alive," Leora whispered. "The shield adapts to our movements." Ilara examined the shield, tracing its rhythm with her eyes. "It's not random," she said. "Every pulse, every flare has a pattern. Watch closely." Her hands moved with precision, signaling timing and movement to her team. Using carefully measured angles, they bypassed the shield, slipping inside the ship's heart. Inside the command chamber, a massive holographic map of the sector pulsed in the center. Automated turrets lined the walls, ready to fire. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "We disable the core controls," she instructed. "One sequence at a time. Focus and follow my lead." They moved as a unit, following her instructions, deactivating turrets, rerouting energy flows, and securing the ship's systems. Every step required patience, every move precise. Her helmet, with all its dents and scars, seemed almost alive, guiding her hands, warning her of dangers before sensors could detect them. Finally, after hours of tense effort, the command ship's systems fell silent. Energy shields collapsed, turrets powered down, and the hidden fleet became vulnerable. Ilara's team stared in awe. Realizing the enormity of their accomplishment, Commander Rin finally spoke, his voice filled with respect. "Voss, that was extraordinary. Without your leadership, instinct, and insight, we would have been destroyed. You've turned what seemed like certain death into victory." Lara allowed herself a small, tired smile. "It's not me," she said quietly. "It's every lesson, every battle, every mark my helmet carries. This is what guides us. We survived because we learned from the past." Merrick, standing nearby, touched his own helmet, a mixture of disbelief and admiration in his eyes. "I mocked your helmet," he admitted. "I thought it was just old metal and scratches. I see now. Every dent tells a story, every crack a victory. You are not just a pilot, Voss. You're extraordinary." Outside, the stars glimmered coldly, and the hidden fleet, once a looming threat, now floated inert, systems disabled. The team gathered in formation, exhausted but victorious. They had faced overwhelming odds and survived. They had reclaimed the heart of the Shadari Armada, a feat thought impossible. Ilara stood at the helm of her fighter, her helmet reflecting the distant stars. She felt the weight of the legacy she carried, the history, the battles, the victories, embedded in every scar. The hidden fleet had tested her, but it had also revealed her true strength. She had proven that courage, instinct, and understanding of the past could overcome even the greatest challenges. As they prepared to chart a course for the next sector, Ilara allowed herself a moment of reflection. The helmet, once mocked by peers, was now a symbol of wisdom, experience, and leadership. Every dent, every crack, every mark had played a role in guiding them through near certain death. And somewhere in the shadows of the graveyard of stars, the Shadari had left behind more secrets waiting to test the next generation of warriors. But Ilara Voss, guided by legacy, courage, and the knowledge carried in her helmet, was ready to face whatever came next. The universe stretched endlessly ahead, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. And with every scar she bore, every lesson learned, she was prepared to face it head-on, fearless and unstoppable. The void beyond the graveyard of stars was quiet, deceptively calm. Ilara Voss and her team had reclaimed the central command ship of the hidden Shadari Armada, but their mission was far from complete. Reports from sensors indicated that a small contingent of remaining Shadari warships had retreated to a nearby asteroid belt. They were damaged, yes, but far from harmless. These vessels could regroup, repair, and strike again, Commander Leora said, examining the latest readings. "We have one chance. If we take these ships now, we can end this threat before it spreads. If we wait, they may escape." Commander Rin looked at Ilara. "This is your call, Voss. Lead the engagement. Your insight brought us this far." Ilara adjusted the straps of her helmet, running her fingers over each dent, each scar. Every mark carried a story of survival, courage, and wisdom passed down from generations. She remembered her father's words. "The cracks in your armor will be your strength. Trust them." She exhaled slowly. "We attack," she said firmly. "We move smart, coordinated, and focused. Each ship has weaknesses. We exploit them. Follow my lead exactly." The team formed a tight formation, moving toward the asteroid belt where the Shadari had taken refuge. Shadows of massive asteroids created a labyrinth of obstacles, perfect for ambushes. Ilara led the way, scanning every crevice and sensor reading. Her helmet's worn interior seemed almost alive, guiding her instincts. Highlighting patterns in the enemy formations, the first wave of Shadari ships appeared suddenly, weaving between asteroids. Energy weapons flared as automated defenses responded. Ilara's fighter danced through the onslaught, narrowly avoiding blasts while coordinating her team. "Focus fire on the lead ship," she commanded. "Draw their attention while we flank." Merrick and several other pilots followed her maneuver, creating a crossfire that disoriented the Shadari. Ilara's knowledge of their tactics, embedded in the heritage of her helmet, allowed her to anticipate every move. She could predict where drones would fire, how shields would respond, and which paths offered the best cover. Leora manipulated the command ship's systems remotely, redirecting power to reinforce their shields and disable enemy targeting. The combined effort was precise, calculated, almost choreographed. The Shadari ships faltered, their formations breaking under the coordinated attack. One of the enemy vessels, larger and more heavily armed than the others, surged forward, attempting to ram the command ship. Ilara reacted instantly. She dove toward it, twisting her fighter with near-impossible precision, dodging blasts and energy beams. Her pulse cannon fired, hitting weak points in the ship's hull. Sparks and smoke erupted, and the vessel veered off. "Disabled, but still dangerous. Great work, Voss," Merrick shouted over the comms. I can't believe how you do this. It's like you can see what they'll do before they do it." Ilara remained focused. "Stay sharp. This isn't over yet." As the battle continued, the remaining Shadari ships attempted to flee deeper into the asteroid belt. Ilara calculated the trajectories, predicting where they would go. She led a daring maneuver, weaving through tight asteroid clusters, drawing the enemy into a trap. Mines and automated turrets, previously hidden among the asteroids, activated as the Shadari fleet moved into position. The ambush was devastating. Several ships were destroyed instantly, while others were forced to retreat. Ilara guided her team with calm precision, coordinating strikes, evading fire, and ensuring minimal risk to her pilots. Every dent in her helmet, every memory of past battles, gave her the advantage knowledge her opponents could not predict. Finally, only one vessel remained. It was small, but fast, trying desperately to escape through a narrow gap in the asteroid field. Ilara gritted her teeth. This was the final test. She piloted her fighter directly toward the gap, matching the ship's speed, anticipating every twist and turn. "Everyone hold position," she instructed. "This is my maneuver. Cover me." The burst of speed and precise calculations, she cut off the Shadari ship's escape path. It turned desperately, firing wildly, but Ilara was untouchable. She dodged each shot, her fighter moving almost as if it were alive, guided by instinct and legacy. At the last moment, she fired a pulse cannon, striking the vessel's engines. Sparks flew, and the ship tumbled helplessly through the void. Forced to surrender, the team cheered quietly over the comms, exhausted but triumphant. The remaining Shadari forces were defeated. The Graveyard of Stars, once a place of death and fear, was now under human control. Commander Rin spoke, his voice full of admiration. "Voss, you've done it. Against impossible odds, you've led your team to victory. Not just skill, but courage, foresight, and instinct. You've proven that humanity can overcome even the deadliest enemies." Ilara removed her helmet, letting her hair fall loose. Sweat and exhaustion streaked her face, but her eyes shone with pride. "It's not just me," she said softly. "Every dent, every scratch, every lesson passed down from those who came before me. It guided me. We survived together, and we fought together. That's what matters." Merrick approached, still in awe. "I mocked you. The helmet. All those marks? I thought they were flaws. I see now. They're proof of everything you've survived. They're your strength." Lara smiled faintly. "Exactly. And now, we carry that strength forward. Humanity survives, learns, and grows. Every challenge we face, we adapt. Every enemy, we overcome." Leora adjusted the command ship's controls, securing the final readings from the Shadari fleet. "Their technology, their tactics, it's all here. We can use this knowledge to prevent future conflicts. To protect humanity," Lara nodded. "And we will. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. The universe is full of dangers, but also full of opportunities, and we're ready for both." The team gathered outside the command ship, looking out over the vast graveyard of stars. Twisted hulls, abandoned stations, and shattered fleets drifted silently in the void. It was a place that had once inspired fear, but now it inspired hope. Humanity had survived where legends said they would fail. Ilara felt the weight of her helmet in her hands. Once mocked and scorned, now a symbol of victory and resilience. Every crack, every dent, every mark told a story, not just of battles fought, but of courage, determination, and the strength to persevere. This helmet, she said quietly to herself, is more than metal. It's a legacy. And I will carry it forward into every battle, every challenge, every unknown ahead. The team prepared to leave the graveyard of stars, the command ship now secure, the hidden fleet defeated. As they charted a course back to SciFi-Prime, the stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of mystery and possibility. But Alara Voss knew that humanity, guided by courage, wisdom, and the lessons of the past, could face whatever awaited. And in the quiet moments, when the hum of the ship and the distant glow of stars filled the void, she allowed herself a small thought of pride. The helmet had been mocked, doubted, and scorned, but now everyone knew the truth. Every dent, every crack, every mark was a story of triumph. Every mark was proof that humanity, even against the deadliest odds, could endure, survive, and rise stronger than before. As the stars sped by, Alara tightened the straps of her helmet, ready for whatever came next. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But she was ready. She had learned from the past, fought in the present, and was prepared to shape the future. The journey of Alara Voss. The pilot whose helmet carried the legacy of generations had only just begun. And humanity, stronger for its courage, would follow her into the unknown, unbowed and unbroken.